like to welcome our very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, to this occasion. Like Ebere mentioned, it's a two-day event that began yesterday, and we did highlight a lot of factors that are critical to enhancing investment and the overall economy of Rivers State. For today, like he has said, we'll be focusing on a few other sectors that are very critical. One of such is the blue economy. His Excellency, the Governor, yesterday spoke about extensive projects that he has been involved in Rivers State in the last few months and how they have cascaded to improving the livelihoods of citizens in the state. And in my remark, I did mention to government officials who are here, investors, and particularly to the diplomatic community, that they can take the message back to their countries and their consulates that Rivers State is open and ready for investment. Tele.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that being said, may I have the pleasure of inviting to give the welcome address the Secretary to the State Government, Dr. Tammy Danagogo, ably represented by the Head of Service, Rivers State Civil Service, Dr. George C. Wake, MNI.
Your Excellency, the statesmanly Governor of Rivers State, our erudite keynote address presenter here present, very distinguished invited guests, royal fathers, sir, please permit me to stand on this established protocol. It is with great sense of humility that I stand here to welcome everyone to the second day of the Rivers State Economic and Investment Summit here at the prestigious Obiwale International Conference Center. It is truly an honor to have each and everyone here present to continue with this important discussion and collaborations instituted by our Governor towards building a stronger and more prosperous future for our beloved Rivers State. As we gather here, I am reminded of the profound quote by a former British Prime Minister, William Henry Beveridge, who said, "Politicians plan for the next election, but statesmen plan for the next generation." By this Economic Summit, it is very clear to all that the Governor is a statesman, because the benefits of the Economic Summit are things that are to be put on ground to benefit our future and make the future generation more responsible. Yesterday, the journey started, and it was a galore of explorations, innovations, all geared towards laying the groundwork for mutually beneficial partnerships and opportunities that will drive economic growth and development in Rivers State. Today, we are back here with renewed energy and determination to further our collective efforts and turn our shared vision into stark reality. It is in moments like this that the distinction between a politician and a statesman becomes very clear. Our Governor, with a steadfast focus on the future and a dedication to the well-being of not just the present generation, but also those to come, embodies the spirit of a true statesman. His commitment to sustainable development, his foresight in planning for the long term, and his unwavering dedication to the betterment of our state now and for the future truly set him apart as a true leader. I therefore urge each person here present to draw inspiration from the ethos as we continue our discussion today. Let us channel our energies towards solutions that will not only benefit us today, but will also lay a solid foundation for the generations that will follow. Together, we can create a legacy of progress, prosperity, and sustainable development that will define the future of Rivers State and give her the pride of place in the Committee of States. Thank you for being here, for making time for this particular event. Thank you for your dedication to the shared vision and mission which the state has been given by a focused leader. Thank you for contributing to the focused and productive discussions that were held yesterday, and we pray that you also lend us your intellectual intellects for the discussion that will come up today. It is indeed very heartwarming that we have very distinguished guests here present. Once more, I want to welcome you to this auspicious occasion and pray that God will see us through in Jesus' name.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tammy, Secretary to the State Government, Rivers State. Very quickly, I'd like to invite for the goodwill message, Ms. Stella Fubara. Stella Fubara is the Director, International Operations, Africa at Dubai Department of Tourism and Commerce Marketing. You're welcome, ma'am. A round of applause for her, please.
Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, former Governor of Rivers State, and our Governor, Simlani, and our Deputy Governor, Professor Uma Odu, Royal Highnesses, I am a daughter of the soil, but I will apologize now for not standing on proper protocol if I do not mention everyone, so please pardon me. It's a short message, and you might wonder why I'm giving it. I have been away from our country for quite some while, doing things in other parts of the world that I would like to do for my country. Timing is everything, opportunity is everything. And I'm grateful to the Executive Governor of Rivers State for having what I believe is the very first Rivers State Economic and Investment Summit. The news of this summit is going global. Those of you who have made time out of your busy days to come here and to learn and to know why you are Rivers State. Rivers State is not a shell. It's the people of the state that make up what is Rivers State. This summit is for you to go back to your indigence and do exactly things that are discussed here. Government is enabling us, but government is not always the answer. We are the answer that we need to see to make the change. We've talked about creative economy, we've talked about tourism, we're going to talk about the blue economy, we've talked about education, we've talked about diversity. There are many lions in Rivers State, but if you know anything about the animal kingdom, a lion needs a lioness in order to eat. Lions don't hunt. It is the lionesses that do so. And so for the women here, especially the lady who spoke yesterday, wondering why there were no women on the panel, stand up and be a lioness for your family, for your husband, if you have one, and for your governor and for the government, and watch Rivers State grow. Do it with passion, because if you do it without passion, you will lose steam. The passion comes from within. You can learn a lot of skill sets here today, but no one can teach you passion. It has to come from within. So I urge you all that are here today and that are listening and in the diaspora, build up your passion for who you are in Rivers State. And as JFK said, ask not what the government can do for you, but what you can do for the Rivers State.
Maybe we make the applause more passionate. You know, for me, my takeaway is do it with passion. And it links with our next speaker. Everything he has done with passion. Between the years 2009 and 2014, that he was governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, every implementation of banking reforms he did with passion. He is a very committed person. He has multifaceted background and commitment to reform and leaving a lasting legacy in Nigeria and beyond. But beyond finance, he's also a man that is into advocacy. You will hear him shout to the rooftop against corruption and child marriage. We're very elated to have you here. And we're very happy that you are a keynote speaker. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with pleasure that I welcome here His Royal Highness Muhammad Sanusi II, 14th Emir of Kano, and former Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, to deliver the keynote address. We welcome you. Your Royal Majesty, we welcome you.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Your Excellency, the former Governor of Cross River State, my friend and brother Donald Duke, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, the Right Honorable Speaker, Your Majesties, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on already established protocol. When I received the invitation from His Excellency to come and serve as a keynote speaker at the maiden River State Economic and Investment Summit, my diary was filled up with a series of engagements locally and internationally, including the Global MTN Board meeting,
Thank you. My initial reaction was that I might not be able to come. But then I thought what a great honor it is for His Excellency Dr. Fubara to have invited me to serve in this capacity. I also remembered my late friend and brother, Herbert Hughley, who was a proud son of the Rivers.
I also had a bit of apprehension about coming to speak at public forums such as this, because sometimes it doesn't matter what we say about the problems or the truthfulness of solutions we try to proffer as ways to reconfigure the economy for the benefit of all. Sometimes misinterpretation and sensationalism become the aftermath of the speech more than the substance. And I'm sure we all agree I've had my fair share of controversy. These misrepresentations sometimes make discourse a matter of controversy rather than about solutions. However, honor begets honor, and I regard your invitation, Your Excellency, as an absolute honor, and that is why I'm here. Also, honoring River State is for me honoring one of my best friends, Herbert Wigwe. And this is another way of paying my respects to him. And today of all days, I wish you were here with me. At this moment in our history, when the country is desperate to chart a new course in economic thinking, opting for a paradigm shift that seeks to harness our vast potential and propel us towards sustainable growth and prosperity, the decision to center governance around economic development through investment promotion is a very thoughtful and brave decision by the government of Rivers State. This is more so because the reform of an economy, whether of a state or of the federation at large, requires difficult decisions. It involves policies that may be painful and unpopular, which don't usually go down well with politicians who need re-election. But that is the only way to guarantee a better future for the same people that might be hard on. And at this point, it's important for us as Nigerians to be realistic. The mismanagement of the last 10 years will not be undone in 6 months or 1 year. And we need to understand that some of the difficult decisions that are taken will take time to work through the economy. It will take a little while for us to see a turnaround, but those decisions are absolutely necessary in order to save the economy. We always knew we would have to go through this process if we did not change course. And we have seen this movie, seen it in Zimbabwe, we've seen it in Venezuela, we've seen it in Argentina, and it is a movie we do not want to be a part of. And I do hope that we'll make this transition a short one and go back to economic growth. But it is the right thing to do. As the second largest economy in Nigeria after Lagos, Rivers State has a unique opportunity to emerge as a beacon of progress in the face of hopelessness. It has the opportunity to operationalize the ideals of the concept of subnationalism in a federal context by building a resilient, dynamic, modern, and effective system that fosters economic development and prosperity. With rich arable land, abundant oil and water resources, as well as strategic location of the state, Rivers can be one of the best investors' paradises, not just in Nigeria, but in West Africa. If the right things can be done. The recent boom in mechanized agriculture, international trade, transportation, tourism, real estate, and ICT that are being witnessed in this state are evidence that development is not too lofty a dream to achieve, and they're a testament that Rivers is ripe for investment and growth. But while organic factors may induce the emergence and unfolding of a certain level of growth in various sectors of an economy, sustainable development is a result of deep thinking, deliberate and strategic actions, as well as the political will to perform and achieve. Rivers State is blessed with abundant oil resources, a gift that has significantly contributed to the economy of Nigeria as a whole. However, sitting on oil or any natural resource is not enough for economic development. I have said over and over again that if we were to dig out all the oil that is under Nigeria's soil today and sell it and share the money among all Nigerians, we would at best be a lower middle income country. So oil is a resource, but it's not enough to make us a wealthy country. To achieve development, it is imperative that we recognize the need to take specific steps that transcend natural resources to diversify and institutionalize foundational economic frameworks. To fully reap the blessings of oil itself, chiefly because it is not wholly controlled by the state, there's a need to consider its viability and risks. To ensure a prosperous future, we must embrace innovation and reforms to make the state attractive for investment and capable of realistic growth. In other words, it is the capacity of state institutions to ensure quality in thinking and skills of the population that will be critical to the delivery of results. Japan and Singapore do not have any mineral resources. Neither do Germany, Switzerland, Australia, or Rwanda, to give a few examples. By no means, however, would anyone compare the standard of living, life expectancy, or any other development benchmark in these countries with most of the countries with plentiful mineral resources such as Nigeria. Again, despite having abundance of mineral resources, countries like Russia, the UAE, we just listened to Stella, Norway, etc., have developed not only by those resources given to them by nature or providence, but by successful and a deliberate vision to diversify through the quality of their governance, institutions, and people. Resources can be a blessing, and resources can be a curse. The choice is left to the leaders. And it is the choice. You know, we always talk about this resource curse. Oil is not a curse. The curse is the leaders that we had. So it's the choice that you make. You can either turn this into a blessing or turn it into a curse. Human capital and good governance are why countries that are complex in their characteristics, such as India, Brazil, China, and the US, have developed through innovation, intellectual property, education, and strong public institutions. If we're serious about development, we have to stop expecting oil to do everything for us. Everyone in Nigeria now talks about investment, infrastructure, and development. But few actually consider that no investors would simply deploy resources in the name of investment unless they see that the environment is prepared to accommodate their business, make it prosper, and protect it. Capitalism does not flourish and create wealth for everyone by the number of bridges and office edifices a government builds, but by strong fiscal and trade institutions that create a level playing field and incentives to ease business. Your roads and bridges will eventually decay, and you'll have to either borrow or build new ones or become helpless. With an easy business environment and a skilled population, economies have transformed and grown to mega cities. It is therefore not enough for us to want to bring investors to, or achieve economic development in River State. We have to lay some foundation for the economy to stand on. What kind of state does His Excellency want to leave after his tenure as governor? A FAC allocation and 13% derivative state, or a commercial and industrial hub in which all citizens live a decent life? For this, we must put stress on human capital and design education and skills training that are fit for this century, such that IOCs, for example, don't have to bring expatriates to work on their offshore and onshore sites. The state education system should create a skilled population that is fit for the labor requirements of any investor to safeguard the employment of your citizens. The standard of the public service means that it has to be able to implement investor-friendly policies that would attract and regulate these investments. The judiciary must be independent, and judges must be seen to rise above any suspicion of corruption. The laws should be such as to protect investments, and our taxation system, while it's necessary for fiscal strength of the government, should not be an extortionary system. I recently saw an old video of Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher saying that no country has ever taxed its way to prosperity. Tax is important. Broadening the tax base is important. Having the tax net is important, but taxes must be streamlined, they must be sensible, and we must tax growth and not income. So what are the recommendations, a few that I would like to make to prepare the ground for investments? First is on human capital development and the state's manpower policy. The key to economic development is human capital. Investing in the people is paramount. River State needs robust education and skills training programs that essentially aim to prepare its youth to be the future workforce. I was speaking to the governor today and telling him I'm sure he has, as I do and as all of us have, hundreds of CVs of young people who have first-class degrees and don't have jobs. And unfortunately, they cannot do anything if they don't get a formal job because they have not been equipped with the right skills for this economy. The state needs a robust education and skills training program that essentially aims to prepare its youth to be the future workforce. First, it needs to design a comprehensive manpower policy based on the state's vision for development. Reform the primary and secondary schools, colleges, polytechnics, and universities to become real incubation centers that produce engineers, technicians, and artisans that will provide an efficient workforce for the numerous IOCs in River State, and to produce and retain medical doctors to provide world-class healthcare for residents in the state so that no one has to travel abroad for treatment. You need innovators and entrepreneurs that will supply services across all value chains and industries. And it is important to raise the quality of the schools by investing in teaching capacity, learning tools, and pedagogy that will nurture a culture of creativity and problem solving. It is critically important to invest in vocational training and apprenticeship to close the education gap, aligning with the needs of our economy. The second issue is institutional reform. We need to foster a business-friendly environment. Alongside equipping the population with skills through education, the state must streamline government processes to reduce red tape by instituting transparent and accountable governance structures that are crucial for building confidence and ensuring effective service delivery. In this digital age, leveraging technology is essential. Implementing e-government services and digital payment systems can streamline operations and enhance transparency. Building a robust IT infrastructure will support businesses and spur innovation in these days of artificial intelligence, making River State a hub for technological advancement in regulatory and fiscal responsibility. The third is the legal and judicial system. An efficient legal and judicial system is vital for economic growth. Enhancing the system's efficiency and effectiveness can be achieved through ADR and multi-door houses, expeditious and equitable dispensation of justice and law reforms, a productive criminal justice scheme that promotes obedience to law and order will make Rivers a stable business environment. River State should commit to building and strengthening institutions that will promote prosperity. It should set up agencies for geographic information services, promoting residency rights and investment opportunities, quality assurance in the management of data and statistics to monitor performance. Monitoring performance in such critical areas as urban and rural development and delivery of essential services is important. These will automatically boost River's reputation and engender public trust and attract and facilitate investment. These are incentives and support for investors that will make River State a preferred destination for business ventures. 4, strategic infrastructure. It has almost become a cliche that infrastructure is the backbone of economic development. but what type of infrastructure? As much as roads and bridges are important for ease of movement of goods and services, they must not be made in isolation from other imperatives. You know, in this country, we hear ministers of work say, oh, we built so many 1,000 kilometers of road. But 10,000 kilometers of road from where to where? And that is the key. Farmers can still not get their goods to the market. Cities are not linked to each other. The hinterland is not linked to the coast. Until we begin to think strategically about infrastructure, just building infrastructure in itself does not bring development. We must invest in renewable energy and more power generation, for instance. And this ensures sustainable and reliable energy sources, driving industrial growth, especially with the current Electricity Act that empowers states to generate and distribute electricity. Economic zones and industrial estates are the new best practices for competitive development. But of utmost importance for states like rivers, due to their natural geography, is the need to concern themselves with environmental protection infrastructure for clean water, waste disposal, and pollution control due to issues of oil spillage, industrial pollution, and other climate hazards. Rivers must invest in strategic transportation systems that include metro rail lines, water transportation, ports, and cargo airports, which will facilitate trade and mobility. In conclusion, the path to prosperity for River State lies in the collective effort and collaboration of its people. The state must embrace innovation and reform, diversifying its economy and strengthening its institutions. Doing this will unlock the full potential of the state, ensuring sustainable growth and a prosperous future for all. The state should seize this moment with determination and vision, driving forward the innovative pathways that will secure a place as a thriving, dynamic state. Before I end this note, it is important to emphasize the need for the state to stretch a hand of friendship to other states in the South-South geopolitical zone, with whom it shares opportunities in all resources, but also in ecological and security challenges linked to these opportunities. This requires concerted effort to support NDDC to fulfill its mandate of accelerating development of the Niger Delta region. Only meaningful development creates the opportunities for young people to earn a decent living, and that is the only thing that will guarantee peace in a volatile environment. I would like to thank, in conclusion, Your Excellency once more for this invitation, and also thank all of you for listening to me, and thank Bashir Ibrahim Hassan, who did all the running around to make sure that he brought me here on good time. And I wish you successful deliberations and good luck as you try to build a new river state.
Thank you very much. I think that Keynote's speech deserves a standing ovation. That was our Keynote address from our Keynote speaker, His Royal Highness Muhammad Sanusi II, the 14th Emir of Kano and former Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria. Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. Indeed, there's a takeaway from this Keynote address. There must be a concerted effort of diversifying the economy and strengthening institutions to enable the states and the government drive innovations. Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will be moving to the next panel session for today. River State, known for her coastal endowments, has a unique marine environment that needs to be exploited, preserved, and regenerated. With this in mind, there is a dire need to take advantage of this ocean resources in boosting economic benefits. And this leads us to inviting our panelists and moderator for the next panel discussion, the blue economy. And we will be inviting The moderator, Dr. Ikechi Wogo, KSC. Please step forward, come up the stage. Thank you so much. And then our panelists for this session is Engineer Greg Ubefun, Dr. Shedrack Akoloku, Chief Ibifiri Bob Manuel, and Estate Surveyor Datain Maxwell Harry. This panel discussion will be for 25 to 30 minutes. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker will be taking his leave. I would like to appreciate him for the wonderful address that he gave to us. Once again, we wish to thank His Royal Highness Muhammad Sanusi II, the 14th Emir of Kano, former Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Thank you so much, and we wish you a safe journey. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the session will commence right after His Excellency returns to the hall. For now, we'll have a music interlude. Thank you so much.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Tired of pans that scratch and stick? Or cookware that takes up valuable space in your kitchen and are of little to no use? Cooking used to be fun, but now it just feels like a chore. Introducing ShopX Gotham Hammered Copper Collection, the perfect cookware to upgrade your cooking experience. The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection features a super durable ultra non-stick surface. Eggs stick to other pans, but with the Hammered Copper Collection, they slide right out. Incredible! Plus, the Cool Touch solid cast handle makes it safe and easy to cook even the hottest dishes. It's oven safe up to 500 degrees, so bake this beautiful chicken soup pizza and serve it straight from the pan. Or this tasty delicious cake that will have your whole family asking for more. Any recipe can be made in these pans, and then it wipes clean with ease, so cleanup is a breeze. Plus, use your hammered copper pan to make homemade pancakes that flips and slips right out. Or make mouth-watering jollof rice or even floppy pounder with ease, because nothing sticks.
I needed a cookware to keep up with me. The Gotham Hammered Collection has been a game changer. No more burnt meals or hours spent scrubbing pots.
The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection is now available in Nigeria exclusively from ShopX TV. You could be paying over 490,000 for a collection of pans that are not even non-stick. Call the number on your screen now and get it for just 364,950 naira. This incredible ShopX offer includes one 8.5 inches fry pan, one 10.25 inches fry pan, one 1.4 liters saucepan, one 2.4 liters saucepan, one 4.7 liters stock pot, one stainless steel steamer, 4 tempered glass lids. But wait! If you order now, we will upgrade you to the Premier Kitchen Collection at no extra charge and also include one cookie sheet, one round baking pan, one square baking pan, one loaf pan and muffin pan, and one all-in-one food processor that blends, grinds, chops, dices, pounds yam and makes smoothies in seconds. All for just 364,950 naira only. And that's not all. You can get the ShopX Premier Kitchen Collection in 2 easy payments of 182,475 naira. Place your order now and we will deliver the entire collection for free anywhere you are in Nigeria. But hurry, this exclusive ShopX TV offer is for a limited time only, so call now while stocks last. The following was a paid presentation from ShopX TV.
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be patient? If you must worry, then worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned.
That is why the panel is waiting until His Excellency steps in and then they can start. So that every matter discussed in the panel will be captured. Secondly, we have here one of Nigeria's foremost leadership trainer, probably all over the world, USA, UK. He has interacted with people who are into leadership. Dr. Linus Okorie is here. That's a guy who's already planning a university in Abuja for leadership. And then he'll be addressing us for about 10 minutes, either before the panel or after the panel. And so we'll take just the slight music. We apologize. As soon as His Excellency steps in, we will kick off with the programming.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will now commence with the Blue Economy panel. Thank you very much. Moderator, please.
Morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think we can start. So we, whilst respecting the presence of the governor, we also don't take it for granted. I want to stand on the existing protocols, but also saying a very warm welcome and good morning to my mother, the deputy governor. Yeah. And I'll stand on every other protocol existing. Okay, so we will be looking at the blue economy. You know, while we're in primary school, we would have been taught somewhat that River State is predominant for farming and fishing. And in some spheres, I'd like to think that beyond the black gold, which we're all used to, is the green gold, which is agric, and then we've got the blue gold, which has to do to a large extent with our waterways. Our waterways are natural resources as well, and like His Majesty just pointed out, they should also be a blessing and not a curse. And in the course of this conversation, you know, I'd like to highlight something that happened while the East-West Road was constructed. I had a chieftaincy activity to attend in Obakri. That's where my mom comes from. I was living at Iwofe at the time. And owing to the construction, it would take me 3 hours from Iwofe, where I lived, to Obakri to attend the chieftaincy installation ceremony. Apparently, I was in the house. My mom called me some minutes to 2 and said, "The program is about to start. Where are you?" And there was no way. I mean, if I had left the house at that time to Obakri, I would probably get there at 6 o'clock. But an idea hit me. I'm a risk taker, and I chose to take a risk. What was the risk? I could try out the Iwofe jetty. And so I did the river transport amazingly. And to my surprise, my mom was also surprised. She was looking at me not attending the event. She wasn't happy. But guess what? 15 minutes, exactly 15 minutes from when she called me, I was already at the venue for the event. And she was amazed. And she asked me, "What magic, what miracle did you disappear?" I said, "No, I used the water transport system." Unfortunately, I don't know how developed the water transport system has been. You know, if you stand at the Iwofe jetty, to your left you'll see Bakana. To your right is Obakri. So within the mangroves and the creeks, you will travel a little further down to Bukuma, and you know, the entire river's terrain is explored, and it's very beautiful, it's very rich. And we're here to discuss immensely the gains of that. Are we really harvesting the true gains, or the truest gains of the blue gold, which we call today the blue economy? Because, you know, when we talk about diversification, we're looking at the wealth of the blue gold. We're also looking at the convenience of the blue gold, of the blue terrain that we have. It's a blessing that we have coming from the Niger Delta, and also coming from Rivers State. So today we have seasoned experts cutting across every facet of the blue economy. And we're going to be looking at the tripod of the blue economy. We have the economics of water, of rivers in River State. How can we make money as a state in commercial quantity, you know, exploring and exploiting the best of the best, the fruits of the rivers, the marine life. We'll also be looking at the maritime industry, the entire port system, the business of port management, you know, cabotage laws, if we can. And then number 3, sustainability. How do we ensure that in course of the business of exploring our waterways and harvesting the gains of our rivers, we do not compromise aquatic life? Rather, we manage, because somewhere in between we looked at the problem with oil spillage and all that, and we know, I mean, beyond saying it today, how much that compromises our existence as a people. So we're looking at sustainability, ensuring that there should be better management even of our rivers with sand filling for estates and all that. There has to be proper environmental analysis, environmental impact analysis, assessments, wherever we can cover them, and we ensure that almost 100% becomes a plus, a harvest, a blessing for us. I don't know who to start with because we have very seasoned men. Very seasoned men. No, we'll wait for maritime. We'll wait for maritime. But for now, let's welcome Sir Dr. Shedrack Akaluku. Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much. We do deference to the protocol properly acknowledged. I'd like to say that global attention today is shifting from land-based resources to the resources of the oceans. And Rivers State is located as the second southernmost state in Nigeria. Rivers State is the only state that has 8 swift-flowing rivers into the Atlantic. Depending on which side you start, the Imo, which runs through 7 local government areas of Omoma, Eche, Oyibo, Tai, Kana, Opobo Nkoro, and Andoni. And then you have the Andoni River. You have the Boni River. You have the River New Calabar. You have the Santa Barbara. You have the St. Nicholas. You have the Sombrero. And then the St. Bartholomew. All flow swiftly into the Atlantic. No other state in Nigeria, no other part of Africa has that kind of luck. And therefore, over the years, we have not been able to deploy these resources to maximum advantage. Now, since the United Nations Conference on the Law of the Sea in 1982, where there was an effort, or there has been an effort to codify international law with respect to the utilization of the resources of the oceans and the proximity or extent to which nation states can approach the exclusive economic zone. Further efforts have been made. After the 1972 World Conference on the Green Economy in Stockholm, Sweden, there was another effort in Rio 1992, and then in South Africa in 2002, and finally returned to Rio. That is on the green economy. From 2016, the United Nations decided to refocus attention on the blue economy. What is it about? How to utilize the resources of the oceans and the marine economy. Especially ensuring that these resources are managed in a manner that can be sustainable, in a manner that will not destroy the ecosystem, in a manner that will be improve livelihoods, create employment, create jobs, and improve the totality of the appreciation of the prodigality of nature. Geography has been very, very prodigal to Rivers State. And we are not going to let it go until we tell the world what is it that we have. Globally, we know that records show that the ocean economy contributed $1.5 trillion from the oceans in 2010. And by 2030, that is expected to double. How will Rivers State benefit from this enormous resource? Rivers State is well positioned by the location of these rivers, by the Atlantic, and the need to dredge them, canalize them, channelize them, encourage the development of ports, the development of other shipping activities like shipbuilding, building of river craft. Recall that in the 1970s, Rivers State used to have a Rivers State boatyard, where they do beautiful boats. The fiber boatyard built boats, built marine vessels with which we traverse the entire Rivers State. Some were even exported. After a while, we lost all this. What has happened to our fiber boatyard? Yet, by 1988, the federal government completed the element petrochemical industry. which later became Indorama, from where resins and polyester and polyethylene are produced, which are essential materials for the building of fiber boats. What has happened to our utilization of Indorama? We need to utilize that. Now, many countries of the world, yesterday, Professor Kingsley Moghalu gave a brilliant presentation of Norway. So I will skip my example of Norway and mention the United States, Ireland, the UK, Canada, Seychelles, Morocco, Mauritania, and others. Now, countries are powerful based on their advantageous position within geographical locations. United States is the only country, is one country in the world that has a dominance of the Atlantic Ocean as well as the Pacific Ocean. Canada has the Pacific Ocean and also has the Atlantic Ocean. South Africa has the Atlantic Ocean and also has the Indian Ocean. In Nigeria, we do not have advantage of the two oceans, but what we have in River State is enormous, particularly with the position of rivers. I'm sure those who love geography will look at the latitude. Lagos is 150 kilometers north of River State, and therefore we are in the bowels of the Atlantic Ocean. In some places, 200 kilometers into the bowels of the Atlantic Ocean, and therefore we stand in a better position to utilize the deep sea and the resources of the deep sea in terms of biodiversity, in terms of aquaculture, in terms of fisheries, in terms of marine navigation. Now, the maritime economy is what has led Africa to convene or convoke a conference of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which was signed in 2023, February 17, with 54 of the 55 African countries agreeing to work together to promote inter-country trade, and therefore Nigeria, which is a signatory to that agreement, stands to benefit, but River State juts out the most because of its strategic location, geographically speaking. River State is the closest to the joint development zone of the Gulf of Guinea. River State is the closest to Sao Tome and Principe. River State is the closest to Malabo, that is the island part of Equatorial Guinea, and all the other parts of West Central Africa. And therefore, if we do what is right, River State will benefit maximally. Already we have two ports, the Port Harcourt port and the Onne port. But who says we cannot build more ports? Can't we build a port in Opobo? Can't we build a port in Bonny? Can't we build a port in Kola? Can't we build a port in Ikru Town? These are coastal communities that are facing the Atlantic. 4 local government areas of River State are on the Atlantic seaboard. Andoni, Bonny, Degema, Akukutoro. These are all facing the Atlantic seaboard, and we are just watching this. In fact, the real wealth of River State is on the marine economy, the maritime domain, and therefore we should focus there. Now, I have what I call quick wins and low-hanging fruits. So, my suggestions are these. I will come back to that. Okay, but I was going to, I have already talked about some of the examples that we
yes,
can...
Yes, you've established the definition.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so I like the last thing you said, right? That should be the next destination for River State. Let's look at the River State where we ignore everything else and try to harvest the gains of water, the marine world. Okay, so we'll go to maritime. We have Engineer Greg Ubefon. He seems to be a maritime expert. So you're going to be looking at two things. Number one, are we doing enough in that area? And how much more can we do? How much is too much and how much is too little? Yes.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, please permit me to join those who have adopted the established protocols. I want to start by thanking River State people, government present and past, for making River State a home for me. I also want to join voice in encouraging investors that Rivers State is the destination for investments. And I will tell you why. I'm from Edo State, Benin City. I came into Port Harcourt in 1983. In 1986, I opted out of paid employment and decided to set up maritime-related business because of my training as a marine engineer. So on the 1st of July 86, I started my business with exactly 100 naira. Can I have that slide, please? Today, 38 years later, from 100 naira, the company has grown from 0 ship to 12 ships that we own in this Port Harcourt. Can I have the Osayamo, please? Now, what I said was that I saw the opportunity in the rivers, in the oceans, where, as my colleague said, Rivers State is strategically located. Then, along the line, being a surveyor of ships, I realized that most ships that were operating in the rivers area were going out of Rivers State and sometimes out of the country for dry docking and ship repair facilities. So I conceptualized the idea of establishing a shipyard. Even though it took from conception to commissioning actualization 6 years, I'm pleased to say that we became the first privately owned indigenous shipyard in the country. And that was established 24 years ago in Onne. Now, what is the point to make here? Number one, we must allow a gestation period for our ideas to mature. And that goes to our governance. The ideas may not necessarily actualize in our tenure. But let's come to the issue at stake. Rivers State has 2 major ports, Port Harcourt and Onne. All the ships you see in those ports, bringing in cargo and taking away exports, are all foreign ships owned by foreign entities. Therefore, if you are importing a container now to any of the ports in Rivers State, you, the importer, will pay approximately $5,000 to $6,000 for freight to foreign owners. If you calculate the number of containers that are coming into the state through Onne, WACT, and some through Port Harcourt port, let's even use a conservative figure of 200 a day. 200 containers times $6,000 every day is what Nigerians are paying to foreign ship owners every day, conservatively. Port Harcourt. Now, in addition to that, the importers bring the items to your ports in Rivers State, and most of the things that are imported are taken out of Rivers State. So what is the benefit Rivers State is getting in that value chain? Very little, apart from maybe job creation. But the meat is going to the neighboring states and the foreign ship owners. With that, you can see that there's a market. I want to draw an analogy between something that's happening with one of our neighboring states who decided to encourage the private sector to venture into aviation. They've done so well in country, they are now trying to go global, both in infrastructure and the aviation assets. So let's bring that back home. Who says that Rivers State indigenes, encouraged by Rivers State government, cannot establish a global trading shipping line to participate in the carriage of those cargo? Low-hanging fruit is a no-brainer. There are international financial institutions that are waiting to invest in such initiatives. So what do you need? Identify. I would like to restrict it to the people so that they can benefit. Private sector players, oh, by the way, having lived here for 41 years, I'm a Rivers man now, so don't forget to include me. Now, private sector players, bring them together. Who are in that sector? Let us set up a shipping line. What do you need as a motivation from us? The government can come up with an initial feasibility funding to develop an internationally acceptable business case that will attract funding. And then, of course, that can start. It's easy, it can be done. And let Rivers State pioneer it, because nobody else in this country has any Nigerian flagged, Nigerian registered shipping line trading globally since the demise of Nigerian National Shipping Line in 1995. But there are challenges. And I want to quickly drop that so that those who are going to drive along with the idea, we know that there are challenges. NLNG owns over 25 or 26 gas carriers trading globally. All of them are registered outside this country. So they are not Nigerian ships, but they are owned by Nigeria. Why? Primarily because our flag register, domiciled in Nemasa, does not attract international tonnage. So if you flag a Nigerian ship in our flag now, there are certain countries in the world that will not allow your ship to come into there. So that's something that has to be looked at. Secondly, our tax laws need to be reviewed. For successful countries that have owned or developed global trading ships, you find that their countries give them tax holidays, they give them all sorts of incentives, duty-free, zero duty-free, duty for importation of their ships, if they are going to flag in their country, so that competitively trading globally, they can compete with other countries. So our tax laws need to be reviewed. Now you will see that what I've mentioned are not within the competence of any state to address. It is the national center, the legislative arm of government, the federal government that will have to address those two challenges. Let me talk quickly on the aspect of, right, you've got together, you've acquired a ship, who is going to man the ship? Since the demise of National Shipping Line, this country did not find it fit to re-establish another global trading fleet, be it private sector owned, public-private sector, that will train people like us. We are an aging generation of seafarers. I'm 73. I can't go on a ship now to run a ship. So we need to look at how to re-establish that. But fortunately, Rivers State is a littoral state. And being a littoral state, there are benefits that you can get from the federal government. Number one, there is a program in Nemasa called the Nigerian Seafarers Development Program. I don't think Rivers State is effectively getting involved in that program, where government sends Nigerian youths to go and train as seafarers to international standards. You need to get somebody in your system to interrogate that, investigate it, and see how Rivers children can get into that place and be trained as seafarers who can man your ships. I know there is a lot to take. I would like to stop with this. There was a leader, a great governor of this state, Chief Alfred Dieterspief, who was very visionary. And he set up a school in Isaka that was called Isaka Sea School. He also set up a school in marine base for diving, training divers. These are initiatives that you need to develop if you must tap into the opportunities in the blue economy. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir. Okay, it's now to Chief Ibifiri Bob Manuel. I'll give you a bullet. you answer 3 questions in one. Yeah, so take a look at biotechnology, renewable energy, and ecotourism. All in one blow. And X-ray Rivers State in view of what more we can do, especially opportunity creation for the young people, you know, how we can begin to engender trainings, capacity building in those areas, you know, so we look away from the norm and begin to pick an interest, like Engineer Greg just pointed out, pick an interest in some of these things. Our fathers are getting older and we need sustainability.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I would say I'm very excited to be here because as a person, and I've always associated myself with an opportunity like this where we come together, get investors together, organize investment seminars, and we started out as way back as 16, 17 years ago, and our first seminar we had was on beyond oil and gas. It tells you how important our case is in the Niger Delta, because we've reached the point where right from the advent of oil in 1960, basically we in the Niger Delta seem to, well, with the country, but mostly we in the Niger Delta seem to be so focused on oil, and we've decided to put every other thing to the back seat. And we've found ourselves in a scenario whereby we now operate or run a mono economy that is centered around oil and oil-related activities. Every other part of the economy had just taken a back seat. And some of the backlashes are what we're faced with today. When you make the oil the center of our attraction, you find out that the fishing that our people used to do, they don't have opportunities to express themselves in their villages. You look at festivals we don't have that opportunity to really express ourselves on it, and so on. So when you choke a man, or you choke an economic system, you're left with nothing else but the kind of backlashes we're faced with. You talk about kidnappings, you talk about all the vices, because the system is narrowed down to just oil and oil-related activities, whereas we have a handful of things. We're so blessed. We have a handful of things that we could easily express ourselves in. And it becomes very important, especially in such a forum, for us to bring it in. I'll commend the executive governor for finding the opportunity to have such an important discourse as blue economy, christened as blue economy, because the eco space in blue economy, what we have here, is beyond what we can imagine. Now, I'll gradually go back, trace my steps back to what the panelists like Mr. Greg talked about. Talking about the potentials around our seaports. He mentioned a couple about our seaports. Now, as way back as 12 years ago, the Investors Forum, we found out, about 15 years ago, found out that the old Port Harcourt seaport, the last we paid a visit to the old Port Harcourt seaport, we found out that that place, young men were playing football there. It's as bad as that, is the truth. You know, and we took our time to do researches to find out why is it that a country, its region, would have such an investment and is not getting the best out of it. After doing all of the researches we found out, we discovered that basically we were just hoodwinked to make us feel that our seaports could have been better, but the draft needs to be increased. That's why vessels are not coming to dock in Port Harcourt. You could only imagine the number of Rivers youths that would be gainfully employed if that seaport as at then or till now is functioning at 100%. We have other sister seaports in different parts of the country that are so productive that they're producing even beyond the number of the installed capacity. But we have a seaport here, we've not been able to get the best out of it. And as at then, when we finished our findings, we were opportune to start out our first debate series. And in the course of that organization of that debate, part of the questions we administered to the will-be candidates was, if you become a governor, what do you intend to do about the seaports? How do you intend to work to see that those seaports work? And I'll tell you, some of those findings that we shared, the informations we shared with them, led to that seaport in MPA now being functional. Because we wrote to the federal government, because it's high time we try to do as little as we could by contributing consciously, not just waiting for the government. Yes, the government is there to do all of the work for us. But as a people, we owe ourselves our civic responsibility to try to contribute in our little enclaves. How do we contribute to be able to? So we wrote to the government, wrote to the federal government, wrote several letters to the state government. And in one of those events, we were invited to Abuja, and we met with the minister, and we told him, look, all the information we have right in front of us here about the fact that our draft is too shallow, it flies in the face, because the facts we have on ground tells us that this draft has no problem. In fact, we have even one of the best drafts in country. And today, vessels are going to Old Port Harcourt seaports. Vessels are more frequently coming to Onne, because before this time, Onne rather welcomed vessels that were predominantly oil-related vessels. But today, you have a lot of container vessels. My company imports all our items on a monthly basis. We import couple of containers into Port Harcourt on a monthly basis, and we don't have the need to go to Lagos, because in staying back here, we're value chaining the amount of money we spend. We're cutting back on our expense by shipping through Port Harcourt. Because if you ship through a sister state like Lagos, you end up getting your goods very expensive. Even with the fact that, just to buttress what he said, even with the fact that importing through Lagos, the shipping companies will charge you lesser, because they charge you what they call insurance, a higher insurance as against you when you go to Lagos, because of the issues that were there. But we were able to fight all of that, put all of that into context, and make the authorities that were responsible for that to cut back on those costs. So today the seaports are working. That's on one end. That's one huge potential that we felt. In fact, as part of our report we did to the governor as at then, was that, look, a state that is as blessed and positioned like Rivers State must have a commissioner that is directly involved with the ports. You can't have your potential and you sit back and you fold your hands and you let it to chance. That's what we do. In the seaports, you must have a commissioner that is directly involved with this, that would interface with the authorities, because it goes beyond what we see. You go to a seaport, you want to clear an item, a custom can slam you a certain amount, you have nothing to do about it. But when the custom man understands that, look, the people involved around this environment are conscious about what is given out, and they will want to benchmark what is given to you as your clearing cost for an item, and they will want to benchmark it with what is given to you in Lagos, then the custom officer will sit up and look at you straight in the eyes and try to do what is right. So it's as simple as that. And if you imagine the amount of jobs that will create, we're talking about haulage. Haulage is huge. From Lagos, when you clear a container from Lagos, in Lagos, from the seaport in Apapa to a distance of not more than 10 kilometers, you pay sometimes as much as 3 million naira. That distance, you pay that much, because there is congestion at the ports. And that's what it is. But some people would even prefer to go clear there, because one, they're going to clear it cheaper. Even when they add all of those monies, it comes out cheaper. And they could clear the goods, and they could be very much competitive in the market. So for you to attract an investor, you need to understand what goes through our minds. As an investor, what goes through our minds first were wired towards profitability. So in setting up such a body or such an office that interfaces with the seaport, you find out that we'll begin to walk consciously through these bottlenecks that the seaports are faced with. Now, I'll come back to what our brother talked about again, about the, the shipbuilding and all of that. There's a whole lot of opportunities that Rivers State government could leverage on. Precisely, I think about 12 years ago, we had a situation whereby, longer than that, about 15, whereby LNG were to set up a dry dock. Now, he talked about the number of vessels LNG own. LNG owns, by recent count, LNG owns a minimum of 28 VLCCs. VLCCs are very large crude carriers. Now, LNG, on each of those VLCCs, the amount of people that are quartered there that work on one of those VLCCs, I would not want to blow your mind on the amount of people. I would not want to blow your mind by the amount of industry that is involved, but it will shock you to know that we don't have a, what you call the VLCC dry dock, not even in Nigeria, not even close to Nigeria. And LNG keeps spending this amount of money. With all due respect to them, it's not their fault. Keep spending this amount of money by taking those vessels to Singapore, to what you call South Korea, and as far as South Africa to fix. One single turnaround they do, they go that much. And a vessel must, within a calendar year, should be able to go for those verifications and those maintenance turnaround. Now, a dry dock, just to take a look at your time, a dry dock alone would create a direct employment of that size, would create a direct employment of no less than 20,000 people. No less than that. Yes, one dry dock for a VLCC, that much. Now, LNG is on the process, directly and indirectly. LNG is at the process of setting up that in partnership. Not that they're investing their money, but they are saying they have this opportunity. They feel if they could set up such a facility around within Nigeria, they will be value chaining that process. And we, from the Investors Forum, we said, wait a minute, I think that would be great. If we could encourage the government, encourage the people, the investment community, if we could energize them, we should be able to get LNG to easily come down and partner and do such. And that was what we did. The process initially was set up to be in Lagos and in Abuja and Port Harcourt, just like one of the panelists, yes, Royal Haskinen from what you call Holland, to do a presentation here, and it was a fantastic presentation. That investment, by its what you call the projection, was supposed to be in the neighborhood of $3-4 billion. That single project was supposed to be for $3-4 billion. Now we've got them here. They came to Port Harcourt at Hotel Presidential. They did the feasibility, presented the feasibility study to us, and the opportunity, and they more or less handed the keys over to us. It's up to you. Let's see what you can do about it. That same process is handed over to investors in Lagos, investors in Abuja. The opportunity is now with you. What did we do with it? We need to be deliberate. We have the coastline, we have all of those opportunities, and these are just a few that I'm mentioning here. We have so much opportunity. So when you sit back and you have such an opportunity where you sit here and you talk about these opportunities and how the state can key into it, I think we've been too focused on just the revenues that are coming from the center. We need to put the revenues that are coming from the center by the side and look at other potentials. We have tourism, we have, just name them, there's so many. There's so many. A couple of years back, Rivers State was generating almost the same IGR as Lagos State. Not more than, 20 years. Where are we today? Lagos State is about close to 100. Where are we? We need to ask ourselves these questions. So that's why I think for a government to start out with this kind of investors forum, I think that's the best thing that had come out of Rivers State, and I will commend the organizers of this, and I'll commend the governor. For me personally, just to round up.
You'll come back.
Just to round up. For me personally, as an investor, I have taken the destiny in the direction of my businesses I invest in. As you're walking into this hall, you'll see an electric car, a Toyota electric car that is parked by the side. That Toyota electric car is what we sell. We sell the Toyota electric cars. On the right-hand side, you have tractors, agricultural tractors. We manufacture those agricultural tractors in Port Harcourt. Not in Lagos, in Port Harcourt. We have an installed capacity for 300 tractors a month. That's what we have. And by December, we'll be commissioning, I don't know if they could put that slide up there, we'll be starting out our electric buses. So Oil had come and it has gone. We need to begin to look at the future. That's what we need to look at. So as a people, we must come together, look at the picture, the future, and be proactive and be deliberate. That's why I think every discussion we're having here, we should have a repertoire that will put all of that down and get it across to the government for them to see how they could work with the private sector and get these things done. The private sector is at our beck and call, but just like we've always known, the private sector and their funding they're very shy with their funding. We're very shy because we don't own the funds we invest in. So for you to be able to attract us to come to your state, you must begin to think the way we think, understand how we tick.
Sorry,
and
sir.
if you understand how we
that.
tick,
Sorry to preempt you. We'll come to that.
Okay.
You were just jumping.
Sorry.
Yes. So apparently, we have a listening government. It's clear. A government that is serious about taking some of the recommendations and trying to implement them, especially as with the blue economy. We've got the speaker here. We've got the deputy governor here. And it's interesting. It's enlivening. But I want to go to a researcher. He's currently carrying out a research, a doctoral research on the blue economy and the potentials and all that. So I would want you to quickly put all of this together, because my dream actually is that the private sector would handshake with the government towards the creation of a blueprint. You know, a blueprint, you know, easy to access, easy to deliver, but deliberate. Deliberate design. You know, government will be advised in that guise to saying, okay, we have seen it, it's clear, we're going to do this. But we're going to have Surveyor Maxwell tell us more about how to research on all of these items, you know, delve more into research, into investigations, and especially with the use of technology towards the creation of the blueprint for the blue rivers, for the blue economy, and also easy implementation before we go to the low-hanging fruits.
All right, thank you. We have been discussing blue economy, and I think we should first define what blue economy is. Blue economy, according to the World Bank, is the sustainable use of the ocean and the seas we have, and with the intent of increasing economic growth, raise livelihood, and create jobs without affecting the health of the ocean. And within this, we have a lot of things. You have said that we should talk about how the private sector, am I right, can partner with the government. We have all heard about Lekki Deep Sea Port. And some of us, I want to believe that Lekki Deep Sea Port is owned by federal government. I want to tell you no. The federal government has only 5% shares in that whole setup. Lagos State government has 20% shares, and a firm in China, another one in Singapore, own 75% shares. But what has it done for Lagos State? It has created 170,000 jobs. And, you know, the whole project was set up with a sum of $1.5 billion. But it is envisaged that in the next 45 years, that project will have a turnover or a profit of $361 million. That is huge. Now you can see the partnership between the government and the private people. Now besides that, that partnership is giving to Lagos State government and the federal government $112 billion spread over 25 years. That is huge also. So what are we saying? Some of the things we have discussed here are apt, but government may not be able to handle all of them, and that we need private sectors, whether from outside of the country or within, to partner with government to do this. Another thing that comes to mind is this. We have the land there's an agency in Lagos. Recently, because of the Calabar-Lagos road, they were shouting here and there that their resources were destroyed and all, the Landmark Resource Center. What happened? We found out that Cross River State called them and said, can you come and set up a counterpart stuff of what you did in Lagos State? We have a lot of beaches in River State. Growing up as a student, we used to go to Saka, we used to go to Corner Beach, we used to go to Ifoko, we used to go to here and there. And River State government can call an agency that is very good in it, come and partner with us. Every time you pass by Pleasure Park, you see hundreds of people. That's not even by the coastside. But they make a lot of money. So, when you talk about this, you also expose yourself to youth employment, income generation, and all that. Sometimes I want to say that people don't appreciate what they have until they lose it. Or one day it is removed from you. What do I mean by that? Ethiopia is a landlocked country, arid country. They share borders with Somaliland. Somaliland is a country that broke away from Somali. Ethiopia said, we want to forge a partnership with you. We want to have access to the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden so that we can practice blue economy. And they asked Ethiopia in return, what will you give to us? We'll give you 20% of our airline stuff because they want to have access to the Red Sea. Here we have River State exposed to the Gulf of Guinea, to the Atlantic Ocean, and we don't know what we have. So we need to be intentional, using the word of one of maybe this year, that we need to be intentional, we need to call in people, set a framework. Many years ago, Seychelles was a very poor country. Their president, James Michel, attended one of the United Nations meetings, and he told them to the face that what you are doing does not benefit us. We're a coastal country. And he did a lot of diplomatic shuttles, however. And after that, the Western world bought into blue economy. That was actually the beginning of blue economy in this generation. And what has happened since then? 41% or so of the income of that country comes from, comes from that. They have made a lot of money. They are the second richest country in Africa now. They are not doing it alone. They are into partnership with people. So government should set up a framework, create an enabling environment. People are scared of traveling on the sea now because of kidnap and piracy and all that. We have to find a way to stop that and create an environment where people can freely use our waterways.
Okay. Sorry, sir. Sorry to stop you. It's very interesting, very engaging, but we've got to keep to time. I'll just give a minute now. We're just discussing low-hanging fruits. I mean, quick starts in 1 minute. Yeah.
Thank you very much. As a fresh start, River State has to establish a Ministry of Blue and Marine Economy to draw down from the experience and the landmark policy pronouncement of Mr. President that has already set up a Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. The Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy in River State will help in policy harmonization, formulation, articulation, and implementation. That ministry should be in charge of the reopening of the Isakasi school so that we can train seafarers and mariners. We can train those who can manage coastal beaches and resorts for sports from the waterfront in Andoni local government, particularly Kurutown, until you get to Finima and Bonny. Is a low-lying beach that is ignored. Of course, the elephant and manatee reserves. in Andoni local government. The Rivers State University has a department of marine engineering. That department should be immediately rehabilitated to train marine artisans, marine architects, naval architects, those who can manage the blue economy, because that's where the future lies. And I have also suggested in this paper that the university should mount a graduate program in marine economics, either at the MSc level or at the Masters of Business Administration level, to train experts who will be earning graduate degrees. You can earn a degree in any other discipline in the social sciences, management and engineering, and come and retrain in marine economics, so you can leverage on what is happening across the world. And to say that, sorry, I just have to add this. Many people do not know that the river Niger, which flows for 4,195 kilometers from Guinea to the coast, passes through River State for 50 kilometers. Every year, more than 500 billion cubic meters of fresh water are discharged into the ocean. And we are not harvesting any of them. We are not detaining them for ecotourism, for fisheries, for biodiversity, and for employment generation. We have so much we can benefit from shipbuilding, from tourism, from hospitality, and all that we can do. And all this will lead to ensured environmental sustainability and provide more jobs for our people and help us to overcome the poverty situation. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to help moderate. Now, let's be clear. They can't say it all in one meeting, but the conversation has to continue. And so I would implore the ICT unit to engender that, okay, through platforms, social media. This conversation has to continue beyond this meeting. 1 minute is not enough. Thank God we've got our chiefs and elders here who lead the rural communities. Every community in Rivers State has some bit of water presence. What are we going to be doing with it after now? Okay, so I wish 1 minute. 1 minute, yeah.
Low-hanging fruits, number one. Drawing from the analogy my colleague gave about Lekki Deep Sea Port, the statistics are correct. Lagos State took equity of 20%. So they have a sustainable means of revenue for the life of that port. There's a low-hanging fruit here. After 24 years of operating our shipyard with a small floating dock of 500 tons deadweight, our experience was enough for us to now develop a case to build a 10,000 ton lifting capacity ship repair and ship building ships up to 120 meters long in One. We've also gone far enough to procure the funding. Afro-Exim Bank has approved over $150 million for this expansion. I am now using the opportunity to invite Rivers State to take equity. We don't need the money. Take equity because that's an opportunity to create employment for your people, to train your people, to have a say in that facility, that project that's in your land. And then some of the revenue from there will remain in this place. Next one, I just want to drop it in your spirit. The elders in the house will remember that there was a time we had the Green Revolution. The Green Revolution led to the development of trawlers that were operating out of Borokiri, Taraba Jetty, if you remember that name. Let's go back and see how we can reinvent modern day green revolution that will involve our local fishermen and those in the fishing business. And finally, I will still call on the states, maybe State Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, to look at the advantages that are entrenched in the act establishing the likes of NEMASA the cabotage fund. There are benefits of being a littoral state, particularly in the area of human capacity development. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Oh, sorry, as it stands now, I'm told that for some reason we can't take it all, much unlike we prayed. But if you have questions, we can't even take your questions now. If you have questions, please refer to them. And of course, the government of the day is intelligent and intentional about advancing these causes, and it's really important. We're sorry we were short of time, but I'm sure you would have enjoyed this session. It was very energetic and very enlivening and enlightening, and let the conversation continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Photographers, maybe you just, Your Excellency Deputy Governor, please, and the Speaker, can we join the panel here to have a group photograph, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, now as they are stepping down, let's appreciate them with another warm round of applause and say thank you to them. It's so fitting that even the carpet here is blue as they discuss the blue economy. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there's a bit of good news in the room now. While the Royal Highness, the 14th Emir of Kano, was here and talking to us, it has just been established through both traditional, social, and international media that Rivers State has brought him luck, that Rivers State has brought him good fortune, because he has just been reinstated. So he walked in here as the 14th Emir of Kano, he walked out as a substantive Emir of Kano. Amazing. I just saw a billboard out there by Fidelity Bank, and it just describes the essence of this summit. This summit is supposed to make Rivers State grow, thrive, and prosper. And in the next few years, the same way there's a good news in the household of the Sanusis, there'll be good news in Rivers State. And so we'll now move on to the next thing. All the things we've been discussing, education, marine economy, technology, manufacturing, there's one man here that believes all of those things will come to nothing if there's no leadership. As far as he's concerned, leadership is everything. A few of my friends call him the field marshal of leadership training. We're very happy he's here. Dr. Lawrence Okorie will be talking to us about leadership and how that knits together all of our discussing the last 2 days in the next 12 minutes. Dr. Lawrence Okorie. Welcome, yes. Thank you very much. Please step forward. That's him. He has white beard, that shows wisdom, but he's also a very young man that has been widely traveled. I welcome you.
Hello, my name is Brian Tracy, and I'm a professional speaker and management consultant. And I want to introduce you to my good friend, Linus Okori.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Dr. Linus Okori.
Is there anybody in this room that would like to make a difference? Can I hear you say, I? Is there anybody who wants to leave a legacy? Can I hear you say, I? The Deputy Governor, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am very honored to be here this day to address this great audience. Everything falls and rises on leadership, according to Dr. John Maxwell. Nobody can make progress, no institution can make progress until leadership becomes critical in the advancement of that life or the institution. So today, I'm honored to be speaking around the subject matter, 21st century leadership for a transformed economy. I will never forget that day. I walked into the Harvard class. It was a class made up of the best of minds from all over the world. We had come to Boston to discuss the future of leadership and how leadership is critical to growing organization for the future. How can government take advantage of leadership to change the trend of the reality of poverty that is really dealing with the people across the world? And while in that class, because I love statistics, I began to take note of data. 11 people in that room came from Australia. Some came from Canada. Some came from Singapore. Some came from India. Some came from even Argentina. In the whole of that class, only 2 people came from Africa. And yet, every day in the continent, everybody's talking about the deficit of leadership capital. How come that in times that is as important as this, leadership development is put on the back end? 21st century leadership is the future for transformational leadership to happen. The reality of the 21st century leadership are a few. Number one, globalization. As I'm talking to you right now, the world is in my palms. Distance is completely dead. What it means is that we are no longer competing amongst ourselves. We are no longer competing amongst states. We are not competing amongst the very best in the world. What does that mean? If River State must make the big difference, the leaders of this great state must know that your competition is not local. Your competition will be with the very best states that is somewhere in New York, as the case may be. Until that happens, we will not be able to up our game to begin to look at the best global practices. As you can imagine, when I take this microphone in New York and I am a Nigerian, the only thing I would do that everybody will know I'm from Nigeria will be 2 things, either of 2 things. Number one, I could do something like this. Everybody seated there will say, ah, that guy is from Nigeria. Or I could do another thing. So what it means is that I have exported a local culture into the international space. So what it means is that whatsoever that we become, when we go in the international space, that's what the world will see. Whatever we create in this place, the world will see that. Now the other day, I began to talk about this context called globalization, the competition will force every serious government to continue to be on the path of reinvention. On the path of reinvention, what that means is that every government that wants to create something new will become a learning system. A learning system. What it means is that that organization, the government will say, I know nothing. Every cabinet member will say, I know nothing. When people operate from the realm that I know nothing, what it means is that they are given to reinvention, they are given to learning, they are given to understanding how other people have done it before, and so they can do it differently. What it means is that everyone that wants to build a great institution, whether you are heading a ministry, you can provide leadership from the perspective of, I want to do it differently. I want to leave a legacy. So what it means is that, so the governor will see the bigger picture, but every other person will have to align to the bigger picture. What it means is that everybody will have to up their game to pursue the leadership mandate. Because without the leadership mandate, we will not be able to realize the reality of the 21st century, how we benefit from globalization. Let me even share with you in this room that globalization has made technology so close to us that there are information that we need now from Nigeria. We can access resources anywhere in the world. What it means is that we can access partnerships anywhere in the world. You just require maybe a research team in Rivers State that is committed 24 hours a day. What will they be doing? Digging information that can be beneficial to the states. Digging information that can be beneficial to the institution they are running. The world is now flat enough in our palms. So information is critical. Technology is critical. As I'm talking to you right now, your back-end technology state must be solid, because anybody can start a rumor. Right now in River State, somebody can start a rumor from anywhere in the world now to say that the entire conference location has been blocked. Anybody can start that. If you don't have a quick back-end that is not responding, that is not reacting, but has control of that system in order not to cause distraction, but to continue to allow the system to focus in order to implement. What does that mean? A strong research team needed. That's the power of leadership. That's what leadership does. The second element that is critical here is the fact that, as I'm talking to you right now, our individualism would have to come alive. Individualism is going to come alive in the 21st century. What does that mean? In the 21st century, you would have every person, every leader you see on the street, there might be a tendency that people might be looking out for themselves. People might be looking out for their pockets. People might be looking out for what concerns them. And that's why Simon Sinek wrote a book, and he titled it, Leaders Eat Last. And so I asked a question, the other place I went to speak. I said, in Nigeria, is there a possibility that leaders eat last? Is there a possibility that leaders eat last in Nigeria? Is there a possibility? If there's no possibility, is it okay that people can reinvent, starting from River State, to say, going forward, we want to be the last persons to eat. Let the common good benefit much more than we as leaders. That's the path to legacy. That's the path to impact. That's the path to sustainability of leadership. Individualism. Can we begin to also begin to look at development and investment on individual basis? Every young person in River State deserves to be an asset. Can we begin to develop every young person from an asset point of view? What does that mean? Everybody has talent. I want to see a 7-star technical institutions in River State, where every young person who wants to be a tiler can experience 7-star education in infrastructure, in everything, so that he can be exported to the rest of the world or can make money in River State or in Nigeria. His individual passion can be dealt with. Can we have entrepreneurial centers that are 7-star in River State? Can we have agricultural in terms of value chain, where we begin to look at the various value chain in agriculture and train people 7-star? Is that possible? The women, can we do fashion houses that are 7-star and train them in their individual talent? Everybody with an individual talent has the opportunity to grow. I'll give you a clear example. The other day I was traveling from America to Dubai. I was very tired. I walked into a hotel. A young lady was standing afar off. And immediately I walked into the hotel, she started smiling. As she was smiling, she was looking directly in my face. And that smiling was intense. I didn't know when I started smiling back. As I was smiling back to the lady, she was smiling back at me and she was walking towards me. She came with a small cup in her hand. There's something inside the cup. And she gave to me, because of her smiles, I didn't know when I drank what was in the cup. I didn't know what was in the cup. But on drinking what was in the cup, strength was restored to me. And I realized that what the management of that institution did was to tap into the individual strength of that woman. That lady has capacity to smile, so they brought her on the front desk. In Nigeria, we would take people who have no capacity to smile, who have no love for human beings, and put them on the front desk. And we expect customer service. We expect growth. We expect buoyant economies. How do you do that? If you have a child, your child is, one is outgoing, the other's child is not outgoing. He doesn't like to talk to anybody. They commit an offense. How do you punish them? You punish them by locking 2 of them in one room. What have you done? The one that likes to move around, you have hurt him. Because the other one just loves to stay in that room forever. At the end of the day, why don't we allow the birds to fly? Why don't we allow the fish to swim? If our educational system can understand this, that not everybody should go to the university. There are some people whose responsibility is to go to a technical school. And that technical school is 7-star. Look at what India did. India in 1950, they decided to form the Indian Institute for Technology. The Indian Institute for Technology, they set the standards. Even if you are the founder, you can't give a note to anybody to say, allow my son to enter. The standards were clear. They were top-notch. They were looking to the future. They were passionate about technology and engineering. And when they did that, many years after, look at what India has become. The rest of the world. Outsourcing. Brain drain has become brain gain. Leadership decision. Now, there is no company in the world you can't find an Indian as number 1, number 2, or number 3. What are we talking about? Deliberate intentionality, because they grew them based on their individual strength. Not that somebody is in politics today who has no business in politics. Somebody is in governance, he has no business in political leadership. He's supposed to be in one market selling crayfish, and you bring him to be a commissioner. What value is he going to bring to the table? That's the challenge I'm giving to you. And the final route on the globalization I'm talking to you about is the fact that there will be diversity. What does it mean? Diversity in terms of male, female, diversity. Right now, globally, there are third factors, there are even fourth factors. Now, in the context of diversification, people have different temperaments. In the room, there are people who love to speak. How do you work with people like that? There are people who will not make a comment in the room, in the meeting. You have to spur them to make a comment. How do you manage all these talents as a leader and get them to make results happen. Diversity, inclusion becomes important. How do you get the women folks involved in the system? Well-groomed women, trained women, how do you get them involved? How do you get the young people involved who are well-groomed as well? So you can begin to grow economy where everybody feels carried along. That's the 21st century thing we're talking to you about. And I want to conclude my thoughts by going straight to the demands of the 21st century. The demands of the 21st century. I had the honor, ladies and gentlemen, of many years ago inviting my mentor, the man they called Dr. Miles Monroe. I don't know if anybody remembers him. Dr. Miles Monroe of blessed memory, may God bless his soul. I brought him to Owerri to speak to 1,500 people. And when Dr. Miles Monroe was about to speak to them, he took the microphone and he said, Linus, do you know there are over 5,000 definitions of leadership in the world? He said, the definition of leadership that I want to give to you right now is fundamental for transformation of economies. And he said, I quote him, he said, leadership is the ability to inspire, motivate, drive a group of people towards a particular direction by inspiration, not intimidation or manipulation. At the heart of that definition, he brought out 5 specific elements. Number 1, nothing happens until a leader steps in. In period where there's no leadership, society stands still. Progress occurs when men and women of vision and courage seize the opportunity to change things for the better. Nothing happens anywhere. In the family, nothing happens until somebody who is ready to delay gratification, who is ready to grow a big vision and say, let's go. Nothing happens. Number 2, you can't force followership.
Okay.
Followership is given. And finally, you have to make yourself a person of influence to be able to allow people to follow you without force. And I conclude with this interesting story, which is execution as necessary in the 21st century. If economies must rise, people must become masters of action taking, execution. All the talk today, what will make it happen is when execution follows. Execution means I say it, I do it. And so I went to Ibadan to execute. I wanted to pitch to my wife, wanted to propose, and I felt I was ready. I had given the pitch. I was expecting an answer, a yes. And she looked at me and she said, knows I'm handsome, I'm intelligent, I'm smart. However, she wanted a tall man. Ladies and gentlemen, I asked myself in shock, am I not tall enough? Then immediately, the principle of execution hit me. There is room for reinvention when you have executed and it fails. So I immediately said, who is the closest person to her? And they said, her father. So I went to the room. I began for 2 hours. I said, I want to talk to you for 2 hours. And I presented the vision of my company or where I was taking the daughter to. I painted a picture in a couple of years. This is where your daughter is going with me. By the time I was done with him, he caught the vision, ran into the room and said, if you miss this man, you miss something. And suddenly, in 30 minutes, I got my answers. So recently, I asked her, do you still want to marry a tall man? And she said she has calculated it seriously. She has looked at the spiritual implication. And she has just found out long time ago that I am tall inside. So ladies and gentlemen, the world is actually looking for legacy makers. You want to make a legacy, must be the learning man or learning woman. You must learn how to execute. Shake hands with somebody, it is done. Once you behave like that over time, the world come here. Trust me. the word will come here. I thank you.
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned.
As Nigeria continues to battle insecurity ravaging many parts